I mean, what is SWAC? I mean, that's a good question. What is SWAC? I mean, to me, I mean, you got another commenter that said that like, you can't be new school and be SWAC, right? You gotta spend some time in the conference. I mean, look, if you're leading the group of program of young men to become better men, right, and on that journey of life, you know, to me, that's what. I mean, upholding the traditions, carrying that light, you know what I mean? Just especially this time of unprecedented exposure and attention that SWAC's been getting over the past couple of years and counting. I mean, it's great to see that. Now, as always, the question is always going to be, what are you going to do with this newfound attention, so to speak, and how you gonna leverage that to really take those schools and push them toward the stratosphere. We don't know what that stratosphere is yet, whether it's D1, group of 5, whatever. But the point is, what is leadership going to do? They interview. I know 60 Minutes interviewed the commissioner. What is he going to do? I think they interviewed. I didn't see the 60 Minutes interview, but I think they interviewed the school president. If not,
no, they interviewed. They talked to Ashley Robinson, the athletics director.
Athletic director. There you go. So what is that person going to do? So it's just like you're sitting. That's why I always sit, figuratively and literally. The SWAC sitting on top of a goddamn goal, and they don't even realize
it. And that's they realize it.
They don't know what to do with it though. They don't know what to do with it. It seems like they don't know what to do with it.
That's what I was about to get to.
Yeah.
So my thing is this: as minuscule as the whole argument of who SWAC, who ain't SWAC is, I mean, I'll still get involved in it because I'm petty like that.
Sure.
And I'll still say, you know what, Scott, you're a member of a fraternal organization, right? Right? When you first started your process, when you first started your process, you weren't a member, were you?
Nope.
No.
Just lowly aspirant.
Exactly, right? and Coach Sanders, and I'm going to remind, JSU fans that he's only been there 2 years. If you want to say 3 seasons, fine, right? He has coached a grand total of 23 games. He was officially hired January 1 of 2021. So he's been there 2 years. But if you want to count that COVID years of 4 seasons, fine, we'll have at it. But he's only been there for 23 games. 23 games. The equivalent of 2 seasons. But okay, fine. And somebody probably correct me and say, okay, Celebration Bowl will probably be game 24. But all right, fine, Danny, I'll throw that in there too. That's still the equivalent of 2 seasons.
Right.
But, you want to have 3, all right, fine.
Right.
I'll say this. If you want to have that conversation about SWAC and who's SWAC, and I completely agree with you. If you're sitting there and the character and the morals on which the conference stand on, if that's what you're teaching your players within your programs, and the values that they need to uphold to and adhere to,
right?
Wonderful job, right? Yes, right. You're doing the mission of the SWAC. But when you're talking in comparison to lifers, I understand why, Eddie Robinson responded the way that he did. Like I said before, we've already went through his accomplishments and his time within the SWAC as a player and now a newly hired coach. And for those who didn't pay attention last week, who brought up the whole fact of, there are current coaches in the conference right now that aren't SWAC either.
Right.
Or didn't play in the SWAC. Yes, I understand that. Let me go through the list for you real quick. Oh, not just the current, but also greats as well. And I talked about it last week too. My God, you guys are not paying attention to the show. Pay attention to the show. Watch the show. Put the caption on. You'll probably be able to see exactly what it is that I'm saying. But let me go ahead and go through this real quick one more time for you. Yes, Eddie Robinson is an alum of the University of Iowa, but he spent 50 years at Grambling, 50 years plus.
I know he went. Actually, I didn't know that he went to Iowa.
Yeah.
Wow. Little on
10
Black History
years
Fact, but go ahead.
plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Bama SWAC.
Yeah.
You know, Pete Richardson with the University of Dayton spent 16 years at Southern as a whole. Won Black national championships. That Bama SWAC. You know, other old school coaches, Ace Mumford, who went to an HBCU, W.C. Gordon, who's an HBCU alum. All those guys that won national championships, yeah, they spent years within the program. Them Bama's a SWAC. The same way that, you know, Eddie Robinson, Fred McNair, Vincent Dancy, and Eric Dooley, who are all former players and former coaches at other institutions and many institutions within the SWAC, look at themselves as being SWAC. But you know what? They don't have to talk about it. It's just like a king. A king don't have to tell you he a king.
Right.
You know he a king when you see him.
Right.
You know he a king by his air. I don't have to tell you who I am. People have their names for me whenever you see me, but it is what it is. You should be able to easily identify someone by their characteristics and who they are and the way that they